Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our first virtual culinary session where we will be highlighting herbs. My name is Jacqueline Barth, and I am the Manager of Corporate Nutrition Services for Spring Point.
And I'm Mike Rospowski, the Director of Dining Services at Monroe Village.
Today we're going to talk about herbs because March is National Nutrition Month. National Nutrition Month is a nutrition, education, and informational campaign that was started by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics to help promote sound eating and physical activity habits. This year's theme is Personalize Your Plate, which really helps to emphasize that there is no one-size-fits-all diet or lifestyle. We all have different goals, bodies, tastes, and background. So today we thought talking about herbs would be a great way to showcase this theme because there are so many herbs out there that there's sure to be one that would suit your taste. We are only going to talk about 5 today, but please, hopefully this session will help you get excited about how you can incorporate herbs into your diet and lifestyle. So please continue to explore and find other herbs that suit your personal preference. So herbs have been around since ancient times. They've really been known for their medicinal purposes. More recently, though, we've really found out about its healthful benefits when incorporated into our diet and our food. Herbs are naturally low in calories, salt, and fat, but add a really big punch of taste. So when you pull some of these things away, like salt and fat, you really need something to add flavor, and herbs are a great way to do that. The health benefits of herbs really lies in the fact that they have polyphenols. And what a polyphenol is really just a big word for a plant compound that has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. What does that mean? Antioxidants and anti-inflammatory we want because that helps stay disease-free and helps keep heart disease at bay, dementia, cancer, helps us live our best life. Today with the herbs, we will show how you can incorporate them into your lifestyle, either using them in your apartments or in different recipes that doesn't require a lot of technique or knowledge on how to use them. So today we're going to start off with basil.
Okay. The herbs that we selected, before we get started, the herbs that we selected are readily available in pretty much every grocery store nowadays. Herbs are very versatile in culinary applications. We've made here today some samples. We have a rosemary and garlic oil. We also have a fresh herb we made in a thyme marinade. So they're very versatile and they can impart flavor in different ways to the foods that you cook. Basically, for storing fresh herbs, one of the best ways to store fresh herbs is simply in a Ziploc bag. They'll stay fresh for a good 10 days if you keep them in an airtight bag in your refrigerator. So the first herb that we have is basil. Basically the 2 ways that we would use this is either in a chopped version or a julienne version of the herb. Basil is actually an annual for those of you that garden and grow herbs or have an herb garden at home. Basil is an annual and it's a member of the mint family. There's different types. The most common is green, but there's also a opal basil, or commonly known as purple basil.
There's over 60 varieties of basil. So there's everything from very flavorful, sweet and lemony, to a little bit more spicy. So 60 varieties.
It's more commonly available in the summer months, and it's also available, of course, in the dry version.
And basil is actually very high in vitamin K, which is very useful in helping to clot your blood. And a lot of people might be worried if they're on blood thinners, needing to watch how much basil you eat. but really 2 tablespoons of fresh basil has about 27% of the RDA. So you can still incorporate it without going overboard. Basil also is a big anti-inflammatory herb, and again, anti-inflammatory helps to ward off heart disease, cancers, and again, high in antioxidants, lutein, beta-carotene, which are good for eye health. Again, most basil is a fragrant or a sweet flavor, but with 60 different varieties, there's a different basil to suit really anyone's taste. The next herb that we're talking about is
fresh chives. Chives are a perennial. They're related to the onion and the leek family. As you can see, they have small, slender, hollow stems. They also grow a purple flower as they mature, and those flowers are also edible. You can use them in salads. More commonly in culinary applications are mainly chopped small, or if you're going to sprinkle them in salads, you can chop them about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch in length, and mix that in with your lettuce.
I always think of chives with baked potatoes, potato salad, eggs. They're wonderful in omelets, deviled eggs.
They're used in a lot of, besides salads, they're both also available in a frozen or freeze-dried version in most supermarkets as well.
And like Mike had said, that they're very closely related to onions, garlics, leeks, the allium family, which is well known for its heart protective properties, antioxidants. But also chives are rich in vitamin A and C, antioxidants again, and they also contain choline and folate, which really may help improve memory and prevent dementia. So chives are, again, another wonderful herb to incorporate that. Again, you don't even really need to cook, but just having the plant and snipping them over a baked potato or into a potato salad to get the benefits. Our next herb we'll be talking about is cilantro.
Okay, cilantro, it goes by a few different names. Cilantro is the stems and leaves of the coriander plant. It's also called Chinese parsley, or it's simply coriander. And you can see it's that the leaves and the stems are very tender. You can chop up the stems; they're not fibrous, and use them when you chop it as well. In most applications, once again, you can use the whole leaves or chopped versions, depending on your recipe. And it's mostly used in Asian, Caribbean, and Latin American cooking. It goes good with things that are spicy, spiced foods. Cilantro is an annual, so that's the leaves, like I said, and the stems can be chopped up as is. It's always good to wash your herbs and then pat them dry with a paper towel.
And the leaves and the stems have very different flavors. So the stems tend to be a little bitter, and then the leaves have that very pungent, strong lemon flavor. I always think of cilantro as one of those herbs that people love it or they hate it, depending on your taste preference. But
very
like
pungent.
Yes, it goes well with lime. It's used in a lot of Latin American, also Vietnamese dishes, soups and sauces. Cilantro is really good because it has phytonutrients, vitamins A, C, E, K, calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium. There have been studies to show that cilantro can have a calming anti-anxiety effect on people. Again, it has been shown to help keep away heart problems. Also, lowers blood sugars. I have to say this was something I learned in doing some research, but it can help lower blood sugars when eaten, more frequently. It also has an antibacterial effect, meaning that when consumed, it has been shown that it can help fight off some of the bad bacteria. We have good bacteria in our body and bad bacteria, and that the cilantro can help keep that bad bacteria at bay. All right, rosemary.
Rosemary. Rosemary, as Jacqueline had mentioned earlier, is one of those fresh herbs that's been around since ancient times. It goes back to having been used since 500 BC. It's native to the Mediterranean area where it grows wild. In mature plants, it gets small pinkish and purplish flowers on it. Rosemary, too, is also a member of the mint family. It has silvery green leaves, as you can see here on the stem. It's a very woody, thick stem on a rosemary bush. Most common ways that it's used in culinary preparations is whole leaves or chopped. Whole leaves are good for marinades, to season meats. Fruit salads, soups, vegetables, meats, particularly lamb, is very common preparation with the use of rosemary. Fish, egg dishes, stuffings, and dressings. So it's pretty versatile, and rosemary is also a perennial herb.
So I have to ask, is there a technique for chopping it? I don't know if anyone's ever tried to chop rosemary, but it kind of hops all over because it's small little pine-like.
It's very needle-like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best to make sure you get all the stems off, because if you leave some of the stems on, then it will bounce around on your cutting board. It's just good to chop it with a nice sharp knife, and keep compiling and keep it in a nice small tight pile when you chop it, rather than try to go all over your cutting board.
Rosemary is very versatile. I know we put it on potatoes and chicken, rosemary infused bread, oils. It really pairs well with everything. And of course, the health benefits for it are immense. Cardiovascular health again. The active ingredients in it may help prevent cancer. It's high in manganese, which aids in metabolic health. And again, that antibacterial, antiviral properties where it can help balance out bad bacteria and viruses in the body. Again, very pungent and distinct flavor, and almost like a lemony pine for the flavors. All right, and now on to thyme, which we will be talking about.
Fresh thyme is also a member of the mint family, like rosemary. It's also a perennial herb. It's native to southern Europe and the Mediterranean as well. There's a lot of different varieties of thyme. If you have thyme in your garden, or if you're going to buy seedlings this spring, there's garden thyme is the most common variety, but there's also a French thyme, an English thyme, a lemon thyme. So there's different varietals to the herb itself. It's widely used cooking to add flavor to different vegetables, meats, poultry, fish dishes, soups, and cream sauces. All these herbs we use almost on a daily basis here in Monroe Village. It's a basic herb of classical French cuisine as well. To chop thyme, you need a lot of thyme. If you notice on the thyme, they're very, very small, tender leaves on a thyme plant. Thyme is a very hardy herb, which is why it's a perennial. The most common ways in culinary preparations to use it is in the whole leaf form or chopped. Okay, it's best, just like rosemary, to pick off the individual leaves and not the stem, which is a little bit more fibrous. So yeah, it takes a lot of time to chop thyme.
And again, it's high in potassium, which helps control blood pressure, which is good for heart health. It's high in vitamin C, which is good for our immunity and our immune health, and manganese for bone development. And you don't need a lot of the herbs to necessarily have the health benefits, because I always think of, what do we typically add herbs to? Vegetables, stews. We're not putting herbs on a cheeseburger typically, or a cheesesteak. We're adding them to healthier foods. So you're really getting a combination of health with the vegetables and also with the herbs. So we only discussed 5 herbs today. And like we had mentioned, there is a wide variety of herbs out there. We highly encourage you to try new herbs because, again, most of them have such great health benefits, if for nothing else, that it helps you reduce the salt you use in cooking, helps reduce fat from not having to use butter or oil, and they're very low in calories, which overall is good for our waistlines and our health. So thank you for participating and coming to watch our herb culinary session. Did you want to go over the marinades, what is in the marinade, and maybe some recipes for people to make some of these at home?
Well, we made an Italian marinade here, so it's basically balsamic vinegar. There's a little white wine. There's chopped basil, thyme, and oregano. So that's pretty much the holy trinity of Italian cooking right there. A little bit of olive oil. So you can use this to marinate chicken breasts. You can marinate it with steak. You can, just 20 minutes or so in a light marinade if you're going to grill. Is all you need. Also, another way to use the infused oils. Once you can use really any type of oil. I'm sure, Jacqueline, there's different types of fat.
Olive oil, heart healthy, monounsaturated fats.
Okay. After about 3 days is when they really start to impart the flavor. So you don't need a lot. The longer you leave it in there, the stronger it will get. But you can use this as, for example, instead of adding salt into a pasta dish, you can saute your vegetables or your chicken and your pasta right into the seasoned oil, infused oil, and that'll be one way to impart flavor, as well as the addition of any of the herbs, depending on your recipe and what you enjoy to cook at home. But it's a great way to impart flavor into foods. You could also grill a piece of salmon and brush some of this oil on top of your salmon while it's on a grill or in the oven. Really, like I said, it depends upon your recipe and the way you like to cook and what you enjoy to cook.
Well, thank you again, and we hope to see you at our next culinary session. Stay tuned.